Welcome to the Social for Brokers podcast. Today, I have with me Adrian Benjamin of Adrian B Finance, and he's a wealth protection advisor for Precise Protect. Now, Adrian, if you've seen him on LinkedIn, a lot of people have, because he's got over 15,000 followers on LinkedIn. He's an award-winning advisor, and today he's come on to share some of his secrets about what makes him so successful, and also to talk about his protection training plan, because he gets a lot of questions through social media asking him how he does what he does. So without further ado, Adrian, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Chris, for having me on. Really appreciate it.
That's no problem. So we're going to start. Give us a bit of a background into how you got into this industry then.
It's a bit long-winded. It's a bit long.
Let's go.
Yeah, so I'm originally from Manchester. Went to university in Birmingham, did business studies. And then when I graduated, so it was UCE back in the day. It's now Birmingham City University, Perry Barway in North Birmingham. And then I got on the Mountbatten internship when I graduated. So the Mountbatten internship, if you think of The Apprentice, but on steroids, there's basically 200 grads from around the world. And then we all work together in New York. So I was with UBS Swiss Bank in 2009. So kind of mid-crash, I'm working over there, which was an amazing experience where just being in a different country, New York is very fast-paced, very blunt to the point, very entrepreneurial. So yeah, that's probably one of the best years of my life. And it was a massive stepping stone for me to just be in that environment, working with traders, just seeing how an investment bank actually works at 22 has really helped me in my career. So even after work, we were based in New York. We also had an office in Connecticut and New Jersey. But some of my other friends who were interning at Deutsche Bank or Credit Suisse, will be on Wall Street, at 22. So just being in that environment, and it's funny when you see films about Wall Street and then we've worked in that environment. It's quite funny.
Sorry to interrupt. The Big Short film, that's essentially what you were living in 2009, wasn't it?
Kind of, yeah. And now I'm older. It's funny how all that stuff got approved, and it's just the amount of risk. But then full circle. So when I finished in New York 2010, went to Manchester and did recruitment for a bit. Then I moved to Reading and worked for Royal Bank of Scotland in their commercial division. So understanding how banks lend money and the criteria clients need, which is kind of helpful for this role in protection. And then when I moved to London, I was contracting. So I worked for Accenture on the HSBC ring fencing project. So the Financial Conduct Authority said the crash that happened in 2007, 2008, we have to separate the investment bank from a retail corporate bank. So my job was to basically ring HSBC customers worldwide and just say, look, we're going to move you to a new bank. So all your account details will change. So that was the biggest project in HSBC history. That was all geared around risk. So I've got a good understanding of that from a corporate level. And then the new HSBC UK bank in Birmingham, that's the bank that I helped create. So yeah, that was a big project. That one, I think it was like £1 billion project.
Gosh.
And if we hadn't have done that, like the bank would have got fined. So it was a lot of pressure. I think Lloyds, Barclays and Santander also had to do it as well. So now when you go on the high street, it says HSBC UK, that's ring fence. And then HSBC UK is, the other commercial investment bank.
So you were in the banking industry. So went from the banking industry. Why did you move into a different sector then? What made you do that?
Yeah, so contracting is good. It's quite lucrative, but it's also very volatile. So after that HSBC contract, I worked for Visa, who do payments, Bloomberg, who do data for traders. So I've worked for Bloomberg, and then I worked for Deloitte, which is one of the top 4 consulting firms in the world on an HSBC project. I kind of got to a point in my career where I've always wanted to work for the biggest and best companies in whatever I've done. So they're all unique in what they do, even though it's financial services as a whole. And then COVID hit and IR35 hit, where how you're viewed from an employment and tax perspective, there weren't as many roles. So I thought, you know what, COVID's happened, everything's on lockdown. I've been doing this for over 10 years. I'm very happy with what I achieved in that short amount of time. I can do something different. So I had my own property company at the time. So I would help property investors buy buy-to-let properties up and down the UK. And the main theme was, they want the property for the rental income and the capital appreciation. And then the third bit is to pass on to the family. No one knows how to do that. Like, no one knows. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to be a mortgage broker. So I studied for CMAP, funded it all by myself. And then the protection module, which was really short, kind of interested me. And I was just thinking, well, if all these people taking out mortgages, surely they should have insurance on it, which isn't really the case in England. It is kind of more prevalent in I think in Ireland they have to do it, and I think in other parts of Europe also. I just thought there's maybe a gap in awareness. And if I've been in, financial services my whole career and no one's told me about this, then I'm pretty sure everyone else would as well. I had insurance anyway, like life, critical illness, private medical, things like that. But just from the trust perspective and, what is level, what does index mean? What does decreasing mean? So that's the reason why I put out the videos. It's just more of an awareness piece that is really important. And even if people do have insurance, it doesn't mean it's, fit for purpose later on, because, things change. So yeah, that's how I kind of fell into it, really.
Okay. That's really interesting that you'd worked through the finance industry, obviously very high up, and nobody had ever spoken to you about the need for protection or insurance. It wasn't really spoken about. And the likes of yourself, the likes of Matt Chapman, are really driving that force at the minute to not only raise the profile of insurance, but how to sell it properly, because it can be a dirty word. It is a dirty word. Do you know what I mean? Unfortunately, it is. Everybody thinks it, but you guys are trying to remodel brokers to think differently about it. So tell me, what do you think makes a successful advisor when it comes to protection insurance?
I think CPD is really important.
Okay.
Like, I do CPD pretty much every day. So you need to know the products inside out, and then that confidence will come across to your clients in the meetings. I think you've got to have good listening skills. And I think, again, with Matt as well, it's positioning it. So I don't really like the word sell. It's just making the client aware, and then they make an informed decision. Making it real and relatable. I think that's what makes people, more likely to take out protection. If it's just a case of it's X amount and it's this and you need it, and you do the old school scaring tactics, then I don't think that's going to get far. I think from a consumer perspective, it's completely different, and that's what we're trying to bring awareness in the industry. Like, social media is a good thing. Don't be scared of it, because even just now, you went on my website. Even though you know me a little bit, we've spoken, like, that's just how the world is. And if you don't have an online presence, and if your face isn't there, the personality isn't there, people aren't gonna gravitate towards you. So I think that's what the industry kind of needs to get better at. Better at. Yeah. So obviously me and Matt are doing it, but there might be some people a little bit scared, or some, companies that don't want to do it, which I kind of understand. But we Google everything. We go on YouTube, like with your channel, like, people want to feel like they know that person before they purchase. So that's why I've spent years building the brand, where if people want to find something out about me, it's there, it's fully transparent. I was at an event with Aviva yesterday about their global treatment cover. So they're only provider in the industry that does that. And I put a picture, it's on LinkedIn, so people can say, oh, he's with Aviva, I know who Aviva are, I didn't know about global treatment, it's only £3. Like, little things like that, where if someone's scrolling through who doesn't even want protection, like, they're absorbing it and they're unaware of it.
Yeah, I really want to do a deep dive into social media. We're going to have as if anybody listens to this, they'll know we go really heavy on social media. But before we get to that, what kind of business are you doing to say that you're successful in this field? How, I suppose, sell it to me as to how you can help people, because you've obviously got success, but what is success in your eyes? Figures, customer happiness?
Good question. I mean, figures obviously are important. It is a business, but for me, it's making sure the client is fully aware of what it is, because there's no point writing X amount and then it's cancelled 6 months later, right? It has to stick. So I think industry average is 20% clawback, which is fine. So that means 20% of policies or people are going to cancel. I think my stat was like 2% last year. It should have been 1%. So for me, it's does the client understand? Also, if some of my clients, if another advisor tries to get them, which is fine. I mean, they're unaware that I'm the broker. Clients will ring me. So I had a client yesterday say, look, this other broker's approached me for this. I just want to make you aware of it. This is what they quoted me. What can you do? That's what makes me happy, because the client could have just said, this is different, cancel it.
I'll just go with them. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. And they don't. I've had another client where he's been approached by another broker. The broker's offered him £300 cash and probably sacrifice commission to get it. I mean, this is the industry that we live in, which is fine. I mean, I'm not upset about it, but I'm happy that he's rang me and said, look, Adrian, they're giving me this thing. They're giving me £300 cash, which I'd never heard of. Like, to get a client, you're giving out cash. What happens if he cancels anyway? You just lost £300 cash. So clients come to me for things like that, or anything, or referrals as well. So that's what I'm more proud of. And I think a complete case for me is the client having life, critical illness cover, income protection, and if they want private medical, so doing a holistic job. That's what I measure myself on, more a complete case than, let's say, revenue.
Than revenue, yeah. Okay. So it's interesting that you say that. So you've sold somebody the product and they're good enough to call you back. They obviously believe you further down the line. Do you have like a follow-up process with your clients? What does 6 months, 12 months, 24 months down the line look like after you've sold them the insurance, and what benefit does that have for the client?
Yeah, so we always check in a couple of months afterwards, because things could change. So for example, one client, when I rang him, he had a son, and we were talking about, okay, now let's put the policy into trust, helping with that, because at the time he didn't have a son. He didn't want to put it in trust. I just got a call today with one of my main clients. What does he want? He wants key person and business loan protection. They'll come back to you, because as their business expands, they're going to need more insurance also as well. So yeah, they'll call me for things. I got another, again, that client that I spoke up before with being poached by another advisor. She now wants, income protection. She didn't want that initially when I first spoke to her.
So I suppose it is key to follow people up, whereas you might think you don't want the client to think it's like a sales call, but you're just touching base, saying, how's things going? And it just sparks that conversation, doesn't it? To say, oh, actually, Adrian, I meant to call you, but now you're here. I'll need to speak about key person insurance or something like that.
It's a relationship thing. So same thing with you. You've obviously got an amazing brand on LinkedIn. People will scroll and scroll and scroll. They won't, as you probably know, they won't message you, they won't DM you, but you'll just randomly get this phone call, and it's a massive business opportunity, because people just, seeing, is your content good? Do they like you? And social media is all about know, like, and trust. And then, when you go to face-to-face meetings and stuff, people feel like they know you already. You haven't said anything. That's an amazing position to be in any industry. And like I said before, I think due to COVID, when I was, figuring out what I was going to do, I said the business has got to be online. Like, people have to be able to access you. I'm a big NBA fan, so I'll stay up late and watch it. So sometimes the games are on at 1, 2 in the morning. I've had a client message me at 3 in the morning on Facebook, and then, we're chatting, and then we've got an appointment the next morning.
Right. So that's the level of commitment that you're going after. So when you talk about the last question before we move on to social media, when you talk about your business, and obviously you talked about a lead there, where do you get the majority of your leads from?
A multitude of things. It can be face-to-face. If I do a lot of speaking, business and property events, it can be social media. Like, it can come from literally like anything. But I feel it's not about where you get your leads from. It's how good are you in that conversation. Right. So what are your stats? So does it take you 10 people to close one client? Or are you like higher? I think industry average, I think Gary Das said, is like 20-25% close rate.
Right.
So yeah, if you're higher than 25%, then that's good. Is it 1 in 2? Depends how warm the lead is. But for me, the best referral is from a client that's already purchased from you, and they said, oh, well, my mum or dad needs this, my brother. And I said, that's what I really like, because social media is great, but it's another revenue stream, but I'm not reliant on it. And I said this years ago, with a lot of people have got businesses online like Instagram, and I've said, If Instagram shuts down or they change their model and everything is in the cloud, like, you are stuck. And Instagram did go down at some point last year, and a lot of people's businesses were stuck. They didn't have any other reference of it. So I think.
And I'm really glad you said that about different revenue streams, because although I run a social media agency, I always say to people, you can't just rely on social media. You should be relying on print advertising in your local area, building relationships with people, networking. Unfortunately, I'd love social media to be a magic bullet where you put a post out and you get all these leads, but it needs to be part of a different revenue stream. And that leads me perfect into the social media section. Which channels work best for you on social media, Adrian?
So for me, LinkedIn, I prefer, because the whole industry is there. It's not just clients, it's, your peers, it's the providers. I'm very transparent, and it's weird. I said, when I got this position I'm in now, I'm going to post like the whole journey. So from no clients, nothing. And if people go on my feed, they can see absolutely everything. Instagram's good as well. I've got clients from that, and then Facebook. So I'd say LinkedIn first, Instagram second, and then Facebook third.
Okay.
But I think with your point as well, it takes months or even years to get that. You're not going to post and then you're going to get £1 million. It takes a while. And I think people don't really understand that, where you have to put a lot of graft and time into it. But once you've done it, like, it really does snowball.
Okay. So social media, people find social media very hard to sell protection on. So let's talk through your content strategy and your marketing strategy when it comes to LinkedIn, if we talk about LinkedIn. So how do you target people, and what do you post on LinkedIn?
So initially it was just generic, like, what does level term insurance mean? What is a trust? What is a will? That was just, okay, if someone's scrolling, I didn't know what that means, fine. That's how I first got it, because again, with compliance, and I get all firms are different, for me, it's nothing that's going to rock the boat. It's like 30 seconds. What is this? Very generic. Then it's kind of moved to more, okay, are you a property investor? Do you have a property? You need the life insurance to protect the mortgage. That's more strategic. But again, my stuff is very, I'd say, vanilla. It's not going to be anything controversial. So I started off slowly. I didn't just jump to, hey, if you do property, like, I didn't do that. It's taken a while for me to do that. So like I said, I'll be speaking at a property event and someone will know me or seen something already. So that's the whole know, like, trusting. You've got online, which we're doing, and there's offline, face-to-face. And you putting in time online could help you offline, or vice versa. You meet someone face-to-face and they see you online. Like, I think both are just as important as each other now. There are pros and cons to both.
Sorry, if we strip back, you talking that you did a post about what is key person insurance, for example. Okay.
Yep.
So let's strip that right back. So how did you do it? Was it a video? Was it a post? And what's interesting is you didn't ask for the sale at all in that post, did you? It was just all about adding value. So talk us through the strategy from you thinking of the idea to it being linked on LinkedIn. What do you do step by step?
Yes, I just think of things where, again, the education piece, I didn't know what key person was, because that's under business insurance. Some people might not, even some advisors might not know what key person is. So it's helping out people in the industry also. And then my videos are always short. They're probably like 1 minute, maybe 1.5 minutes. I like to keep it under a minute because, again, with social media, people scrolling all the time. I'm never going to do like a 10-minute video. I highly doubt that. And also, people won't believe me. I find it really uncomfortable doing these videos. I do.
I love that you say that, because a lot of people will be listening going, I've seen loads of Adrian's videos, but you find it uncomfortable.
Yeah, I hated it. I'm there with my phone. I'm just, it's awful. You mess up your lines. It's obvious that you're reading it. Like, is the lighting good? Is someone going to come in? But the reason why I did it was it's a way for me to bring awareness. If I get a client, that's a bonus. Do you know what I mean? I'm here for awareness. If I get a client, great. If I don't, that's also fine. And then you get better at it. When you did your first podcast, I'm sure you were really nervous.
Yep.
and the editing bit, and it was, you know, more than you thought it would, but you stuck at it, you've got better at it, and you've been going for how long now, and you're just going from strength to strength. It's the same in anything. And like you said before, people just think social media is some magic bullet and then overnight it happens. It's not that. And like you said, again, you can't, even though it's great, you can't also rely on it also. You still got to do everything else.
That's it. It's a great tool. It's another tool in your armory to be able to win business. Yes, it's the bigger channel. It's the bigger way to generate revenue, but it shouldn't be relied on. I like the way that you talk about it's not an overnight success. So talk to me about how long it took from your first video to you finding social media was a consistent stream to generate business. How long did that take?
Good question. When did I start? I think it was probably after maybe 4 or 5 months. I got a message from Adam Saville, the chief editor of Vitality. He was like, "We really like your videos. Would you want to do some social media with us?" About the 5 misconceptions of insurance, which was great. And I was like, okay, this is Vitality, one of the biggest.
Bloody hell. And huge, so how often, sorry to interrupt, how often were you posting those videos, Adrian?
Oh, good question. I think I was posting maybe 2 or 3 times a week.
Okay, so not, I mean, it is a lot, but not like, we're not talking 2 videos a day. You're not always in the studio or shooting videos. You're doing 2 or 3 a week.
Yeah, some people might shout at me. I don't believe on doing that, because if you do too much, like 2 videos a day, you're going to get sick of it soon. And also I feel people watching you can get sick of you as well, where I'm just consistent. I might go a couple of days without posting, but because people used to be doing it for like nearly like a year and a half now, it's fine. You know, it's not too much. So I do feel 2 a day. I mean, some people might do it and it works for them. Me personally, I don't want to do
you're
that.
not preaching to people. And this is, you're doing training with people on how to help them on protection, and you're going to train them on exactly what you've done for success. Look, there's lots of different ways to skin a cat, but this is the way that's worked for you. So I was going to ask something then, and it's completely gone. I thought that's a really good question I want to ask about social media. So you're posting, say, 2 to 3 times a week. What else are you doing? Are you engaging with your people? Are you sending the messages? What are you doing to generate business on LinkedIn past posting?
Yeah, it's good to comment on other people's posts and message them and make sure it's just not one way. Collaborating with people as well, like we're doing now. Like both brands, when I'm very big on collaboration, it's not always about me. It's now, you know, before it was videos of what is insurance, then it went a little bit more strategic to specific people. Now it's like, you know, podcasts like Craig Skelton, I did his, that'll come out soon, and Marcus Nansen, Next Gen Planners. So there's a whole host of things as well. So podcasting is another, I think it's a tier above. Just anyone can post a video or image, anyone can do that. Podcasting is a whole different ballgame, which is a lot more work, but I think the return on investment is a lot higher in a podcast, because you can get your personality across, and you know, you're helping someone else's brand as well.
Definitely. And I'll give a few shout outs to different podcasts that I've listened to. Ash Borland's podcast, fantastic. Craig Skelton's, Marcus Nansen. Go and take a listen to them. Very similar guests that we have on here, but you'll pick up loads of different nuggets from them. The one question I was going to ask, and I don't know this before asking it, the videos that you've posted, have you ever reposted any of them?
Good question. Some of them I think it's good, but not really, because now a lot of my social media, it's just generic. I know some people might say they plan it for a month, 3 months, but like I said to you before, I was with Aviva yesterday in Hoxton, learning about their global treatment cover. I just posted that. So if I've scheduled everything, it's going to mess up the order of it.
Yeah.
Even Marcus's one, my podcast with him came out today, like the full version. He's got loads of snippets of it. I haven't posted that yet on my bit. I've liked his bit, but so that's going to take me to next week. So now I'm in the place, because I've done it so long, I don't have to really batch plan things. It will just happen organically. If I'm out on an event, which is probably once or twice a week, that's going to be content anyway. And I also kind of feel if I'm just talking about protection all the time, people are going to get turned off by that. So I actually might not have a video of me speaking for a month. Like that won't come up, because I'm so busy doing other things. It's not there. I've not gone every video I've done 1, 2, 3 Monday, Tuesday. I've not done that at all. I can go, you know, probably months without posting one of those. It's just more of a reminder of what things are. And also with your point about reposting, sometimes people need to hear things multiple times.
Yeah.
And just because you post it the first time doesn't mean that person has seen it or is registered yet. So there's nothing wrong with doing that. But I've got so much content that I haven't even put out yet. Like I've got another X amount of videos that are still not
ready to go.
Yeah, it's more business focused, so relevant. Life is for limited company directors, exec IP. There's loads more videos that I've got to put out yet that I haven't done yet.
It's just that the reason I ask, and you've hit the nail on the head there, is people don't get the message first time round. So it could be that some of your, what you call like informative basic videos at the beginning could actually benefit from now. And the analogy I like to use, and I've said this loads of times on the podcast before, is your audience is the dartboard. So one member of the audience is a dartboard, and each dart that you throw is a piece of content. You could hit the 20, you could hit the 1, you could hit the 4, the 5, the 666, but one of them will hit the bullseye, and it will only be when your client's ready. You can't force them to take life insurance over a social media post, but what you can do is provide that information so when they're ready, they might have had a conversation with their partner in the morning about life insurance. Then they see your face talking about life insurance. You're the person. But if you hadn't have put that video out, there's a 0% chance they would have found you because they don't know who you are.
And another thing as well, I know there's loads of stats in the algorithm. I don't even pay attention to that. I just post it. Like the whole you can do it, I literally like don't care about that. I'm
just
sure
get
a
it
lot
out.
of marketing people will hammer me, and yeah, there are videos where I've stuttered or it's not come out the best way, but I'm thinking, look, people are scrolling all the time. They read it and they've already forgotten it. So people get scared of, oh my God, if I do this and this is why I'm kind of like with, you know, the industry as a whole, so scared of it. Like no one cares.
I love that.
Like no one cares if you said the wrong thing. I think I did one video about income protection. At the time it was £96 a week. Now it's gone up with inflation and whatever. I still put it out because the message is still the same. Like, oh my God, you got like, no one knows what statutory sick pay is and no one cares. They just know if they get ill with work, can they get paid at the end? Yes, that's the point of the video. I'm not going to change it. And
that's really refreshing to hear somebody say that, because nobody does care. Literally nobody cares. What they will do, what you don't realize is they'll probably actually admire you. They're probably like, oh, Adrian's gone out and done a video. You could have been sat there worrying sick about this one video, thinking it's rubbish, I don't like it, I'm going to put it out there. Whereas Johnny down the road looks at it and goes, oh, I wish I had the ability to go and do that. I'm too scared to do it. So people actually admire you more than you think they do. So
yeah, and it's just helping them across with it, because I get it. I mean, how everyone feels, I felt the exact same way. Like when I was in the living room doing the videos, I'm like, oh, that's wrong. Oh, I got this wrong. Oh, I got that wrong. Oh, this, and then editing it, and yeah. I mean, when I started doing it as well, I made sure I wanted to brand it by, you know, putting subtitles. That's what I thought made me stand out initially. Now with LinkedIn, you can do the subtitles automatically or auto-generate. I was like, the amount of time and energy I've spent doing that. It's just, but it's fine. Like, it's fine. I mean,
you learned something.
Yeah, but it's part of the brand anyway. And I think that's what helps. Where people are like, oh, you're Adrian B Finance. And even though they might not know what I do, they've seen it numerous times. And when I speak to clients, if they're on the fence about it, I've now got a YouTube channel. So everything I've ever done is there. Like even this podcast, that'll be there. Consumers are more educated than ever before. They'll do it in their own time, and they want to. That's the whole point of the internet, is to research.
Yep.
Yeah. And if they like you, they'll go. If they don't, they don't. So the reason why I did YouTube was I was like, okay, I've got all this content. Not everyone's on LinkedIn. Not everyone's on Instagram. If I just put it on YouTube and there's a link, then anyone can get it, even if you're not on those socials. You know, YouTube is for everyone.
Exactly. Funnily enough, I was speaking to my cousin last week, and he doesn't do any social media. He says, but I watch YouTube every night. And those are the type of people, we all assume that everybody's on social media, but YouTube is a way forward and becoming a really good search engine. So before we move on to the strategy question, what's the one? So say I was an advisor and I want to start selling protection online. Okay. What would be your one top tip for me to start selling protection on social media?
Speak to compliance.
Okay, right.
Speak to you don't want to mess that up. Make sure compliance are happy.
Nice.
Because every company is different. So speak to compliance.
So once I've got compliance sign off, what would your recommendation be? What do I start talking about?
Oh, good question. I think as well, it's got to be original to you as well. So it's just because I've done it one way, yours might be different. So for example, you might like dogs. So you could do every video with a dog in the background, like you'd stand out. You know, I'm the protection broker for dogs or whatever. You're going to get, I'm giving away free advice here.
I love this. This is everything I've been saying, and a lot of people do.
It's your brand, like whatever your brand is, like own it, you know, and I don't think you should be scared. There's enough clients for everyone.
Yeah.
You can't sell mortgage protections to everyone in the UK. Be yourself, whatever that is. So I would never say, I've done it this way, you must do it this way. Like whatever you feel comfortable. If you want to do it this way, some people feel comfortable just speaking off the cuff, which I like. But again, you might not want to do that as well because, again, the compliance piece. So whatever you kind of feel comfortable with. It takes a little bit to build up to it. Yeah, don't, like when you said before, post twice a day. I would never tell someone stop posting twice a day because after 3 months, you're going to be exhausted. And, you know, I spoke to Robin Allen, who's quite big in protection as well. She said she's taking a break from social media. Because
it can be done.
It's a full-time job. It is a full-time job and it can be daunting and it can be stressful and you can get, like, create a block. Like, oh my God, what do I do now? Yeah. Even me, when I shot the new videos, I'm like, oh, well, everyone knows about that. What do I do now? Okay, business protection. Not that many people speak about it or know about it. So that helps the advisors that don't advise on it. And it also helps business owners as well. So it's two birds, one stone. Okay, well, let me do all my videos now are going to be business protection.
And this is where you speaking about that, talking about the creative block. It sounds like you're quite a creative person where you can sit down and look through ideas. But that's why we have the majority of our clients, because they will be people that head up the business that kind of go, I don't have the time or the mental capacity to sit there and think of what to post for the next 2 weeks. So we step in and help them with that. So if you are sat there thinking, what do I post? You're not alone. Every mortgage broker, every protection advisor thinks that. Just answer questions that you've been asked on a daily basis and you're off to a great start. Now, before we get into the strategy part of the podcast, we like to donate £10 to a charity of your choice as a thank you for coming on. Which charity would you like us to donate to?
Oh, good one. WaterAid, please.
Yep, we will make the donation for you for your time for coming on. Right, so strategy question. I love this one because we get so many different answers. And this would probably form part of your protection training that you do with people because it's about generating business. So we're going to pretend that you've moved to the north of Scotland. You've got a laptop, a mobile phone, and an internet connection. What would you do to start generating new leads?
Oh, I'm going to be old school and try and go to a networking event first.
Okay. And what's top tips for the networking event?
Making sure your potential clients are there. So people that have mortgages and people that have businesses. So let's say BNI, for example. I'd do that first, do it the traditional way. And then from going to the in-person networking event, I'll post a video about how I found it. Or I've just moved to Scotland. Anyone know anyone there? I'm going to be there on this date. It's great to catch up for a coffee before. So before I even get there, I've got a meeting set up.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how I do it.
So you go old school networking. I love that you've hardly used the mobile phone. You've used the internet connection. So you would literally say to people, I'm going to an in-person networking event. Does anybody want to meet beforehand? Yep. This was similar to another gentleman I had on the podcast. What he does is he will speak to, I don't know if you've heard of Where's Shaz?
Yes, I don't. Yeah.
So what he does is he reaches out to people before the networking event. So he knows people before he gets there, which I think is exactly what you're doing there. I think that's great because it means that it's not a wasted journey then. Have you ever been to networking events in the past and you've got there and there's literally nobody that you can not sell to, because you don't like the word sell, but have a conversation? Have you ever done that before?
Happened, yeah, more often than not. Yeah, and that's why I kind of moved to the public speaking bit, because I'm very big on leverage. Like if you, let's say there's 100 people at a networking event, you're not going to have time to have enough in-depth conversation with 100 people. If you're the guest speaker, you're speaking to 100 people all at once.
And they're seeing your face.
That's what I started 2 years ago doing. That helps because they help promote you beforehand. on the day afterwards, and your face is attached to that event. So even though I'd done an event months ago, you might still get someone, oh, I saw you, my friend went to this event 2 months ago, or actually I now need protection. Like, even though I don't know that person, I'm not there anymore. Right, so that's why with my bit public speaking, which a lot of people don't like doing, and I get it, I hate it also. Once you overcome it, it's a lot easier.
Yeah, so, mate, once you've done a public speaking event, a video is a walk in the park, I expect, because you're like, I'm just talking to my phone now.
Yeah, and also when you talk about other means social media, so Clubhouse came out in COVID.
Yep.
I like that. Also, people that don't know what Clubhouse is, when we were all stuck indoors and couldn't go anywhere, it's an app where you can speak to anyone in the world. Mm-hmm. And again, I got invited on that by someone. And what I love about Clubhouse and public speaking is potential clients get to ask you a question in public. Mm-hmm. And depending on how you answer that question, is going to make a big determination whether that person is going to proceed with you or not. Because you can tell people that are blagging it, or they just don't know. Or if you've got a really difficult question, how you handle it. So from I think half my clients are from Clubhouse when it came out. I was on it every day, like on different people's rooms. And then I had my own room, and I kind of just got sick of it. I got tired of just talking.
Do you still do it? I got really into it in lockdown, and I haven't really touched it since because I haven't seen the leverage of it.
Yeah, I stopped at my own room where, because similar to a podcast, I got a guest on speaking about, mortgages or whatever. But I just found it so draining. But it was good at the time. And the beauty of Clubhouse is those rooms are recorded. So if someone wants to know about protection, I'll just send them the link. This is the part about this idea. Is like it's still a form of social media. So you've got me answering loads of people, because the thing with public speaking and Clubhouse is someone might have been thinking that but been afraid to ask the question. So I spoke at a property event, Simon Zucchi's Pin in Kensington 2 weeks ago. The presentation went okay, but there was only one question. And I was like, oh my God, of all the presentations I've ever done, if no one asked a question, that means you bombed. So I get back to my seat and I'm like, oh my God, that's probably like I thought it went well, but no one asked any questions. But people are nervous. But when I'm in the breakout bit and I'm answering someone's question, they can see the enthusiasm. They can see I know what I'm talking about. Other people, okay, he actually knows what we're talking about. And then I'll get like 10 people.
It's easier for them to. Nobody wants to be the first to ask a question, do they? Correct. I've done it the same, done presentations, have gone, anybody got any questions? And I'm like, oh my God, nobody's asked anything. But actually, if you put yourself in the audience, it's more nerve-wracking putting your hand up asking a question than it is for the presenter answering one. So you give people the benefit of the doubt, and then they come up to you afterwards. I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
So if anybody wants to ask you a question, because we're going to wrap up the podcast now, where is going to be the best place for them to reach out to you, Adrian?
Yeah, so LinkedIn, Adrian Benjamin, CMAP, CEMAP, Instagram, Adrian B Finance, Facebook, Adrian B Finance.
Perfect, great. And we've talked a bit today about your protection plan program. So do you want to give us a bit of a rundown how you can help people increase their protection?
Yeah, if just people need a hand with it, just message me on any of those socials, and then we can do a bespoke plan. So if it's more, I'm not good on, advising on private medical or income protection. Is it more social media on ideas of what to do and how to do it? It could be completely anything. It's generic to them. It's more like the personal trainer way I'm doing it. So, I'm with you for 3 months, I'll get you to this point. And then if you need another 3 months, then that's also fine as well. Like as you go along, that's how I'm doing it.
Awesome. So reach out to Adrian if you do want a hand. Lovely guy. Connect with him on socials, look at his content, and start doing exactly the same if you want to sell more protection on social media. Adrian, thank you very much for coming on. Really appreciate your time.
Thanks a lot, Chris.
Thank you.